Breaking news, CENTCOM saying in just the last hour that U.S. forces are conducting, again, a fresh wave of strikes against Iran for the fifth consecutive night. The strikes began at 2 p.m. Eastern, aimed at degrading Iranian military capabilities. West Texas Intermediate and Brent, interestingly, are not reacting here. Both are down fractionally at the moment, about 0.8% for crude at the moment, or 0.7% in the aftermarket, but shipping stocks, particularly Matson, those names are shooting straight up. Right now, we've got Matson soaring about 8%. You've got global ship lease up 1.8%. Kirby up a fraction here. This is the tensions in the Strait of Hormuz, obviously in the last hour, have continued to ramp up even further. The U.S. confirms it attacked an oil tanker in the Gulf that was headed toward the Iranian oil export terminal at Karg Island. It appeared the ship was violating the newly reimposed U.S. blockade of Iran's ports. As for traffic into and out of that Strait of Hormuz, yesterday, just 13 vessels traversed the strait. Before the war, the strait on average saw 129 daily crossings. Not a surprise considering the U.S. has continued to conduct military strikes against Iran every single day this week. Does that put us closer to or further from the deal that President Trump insists Iran wants? To Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson in the region. He's live in Tel Aviv, Israel. Lucas.
And Liz, this latest wave of airstrikes from the U.S. military on top of the 3 waves that were launched yesterday. And President Trump ordering a return of major combat operations in the skies over Iran that began last week on July 7th. And the good news from CENTCOM and the U.S. military's perspective is none of those 13 ships that you just mentioned off the top, Liz, were targeted by Iran while transiting the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, no Iranian attacks on ships in the Strait of Hormuz has taken place over the past 3 days. Of course, this return of combat operations was in response to Iran attacking ships in the Strait. Here was White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt from the podium in the White House recently.
President Trump is not going to sit by and allow these active acts of terrorism to take place in the Strait without ensuring Iran pays consequences for that, and that's what we are witnessing right now.
And as you mentioned, Liz, for the first time since President Trump ordered the resumption of that naval blockade, U.S. forces disabled an oil tanker, firing Hellfire missiles that are stacks, trying to run through it to Iran's Karg Island, that major export hub. Now, to date, 2 other commercial ships have reversed course and been turned away by the blockade that's being enforced by 20 U.S. warships and hundreds of aircraft. And we have some new video of U.S. military Central Command showing F-18 Super Hornets, called Rhinos in the business, launching with standard land attack missiles with a standoff range of 170 miles. This is the higher-end weaponry we've been hearing about, some of it in short supply. Now, Iran has recently launched attacks of its own against Iraq, Bahrain, Jordan, and Kuwait. It was just a few days ago that President Trump hosted Iraq's prime minister in the Oval Office. Now, President Trump also announcing a dual national American-Iranian woman, Dina Karari, is now free from Iranian captivity after being held since December of 2024 on charges of espionage. 6 other Americans remain detained. Her attorney posting the news following on X. This would not have happened but for the extraordinary and relentless efforts of President Donald Trump. Dina is now safe and traveling back to the United States. So while the U.S. military is launching more waves of airstrikes, trying to get more ships and reopen the Strait of Hormuz, Iran is threatening to use its proxy forces in Yemen to close another strait. That would be the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. That is the opening to the Red Sea. So we'll have to watch that. Iran is threatening to close that strait if President Trump follows through on his pledge, start bombing Iranian power plants next week if Iran doesn't return to the negotiating table. Liz.
Lucas, a great report. Thank you very much.